YouTube. I'm back again with another video. Obviously I'm going to be playing my Beelze archetype, sorry for my pronunciation and the name and stuff. Haven't never heard anybody pronounce this word before. I think it's Beelze or whatever, but the reason why I built this archetype, I'm pretty sure you're aware for those who read the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds manga. It's the fact I'm trying to make an archetype for a sect Ijuin. For those who aren't unaware, who are aware, who must have read it, who should know by now, is the kid who plays Beelze, his Ace Dark Dragon Synchro monster, and his archetype is filled with insects. But he didn't really have his very own archetype. It was just a mix of bunch of random insects that had a few tuners as well as non-tuners. But here, as you can tell, I matched the special summon the giant centipede with Beelzebub's nest. Just pretty much, I'm sure you are, is customized by your one and only that you see playing. So, and giant centipede has a crazy effect. You tribute insect monster or Beelze monster from hand or side of the field. Draw 2 cards. And in the meantime, afterwards, I special summon Battle Drone because I control a dark insect non-tuner monster. And when I do, I may special summon a dark insect non-tuner monster from my grave when it's normal or special summoned. I mean Beelze, my mistake. I was just trying to get my point across because the game can be pretty quick. So I want to be able to explain everything so you guys can catch on as while we move with the duel, while we proceed with the play. So because I want to be able to give you the correct highlights as to what's going on. So I'm sure, but I already know what I'm talking about. I'm just doing all this jabber jabber because I want to get my point across here. So, and same thing, Nightcrawler targets Giant Centipede to gain its effect, allowing me to utilize the same abilities that Giant Centipede had. If these cards were in the TCG, guarantee there will be some hits. I'm not sure about banned cards, probably limited, but you'll see why this deck itself is heavily busted. So I potentially get to summon a bunch of synchro monsters with ease besides synchro summoning by utilizing their effects engrave, allowing me to special summon synchro monsters from my extra deck. If I have one of my Beelze or Beelzebub synchro monsters engraved besides Beelze, because basically this theme revolves around using your Beelzebub synchro monsters to banish themselves, including a dark insect tuner as well as any non-tuner monster from your grave, to special summon one of your dark attribute dragon type synchro monsters from your extra deck to the field. Although in itself is very heavily brutal, it's heavily scary that a deck can be able to do something that vital, and is very versatile because the purpose of it is so that in case you're in a losing situation, you need some way to counter your opponent, be able to push them, and be able to build a board, especially if they play cards or they utilize deck that heavily rely on board breakers. So it's to ensure that if they have board breakers, you can come back for next turn. So you can be able to set up your other synchro monsters after, because it helps enable you to come back. Because just the fact that my deck can actually get one-shotted by other cards, so to make sure that even if they do, the deck doesn't simply like go away. It'll just proceed as long as you have not many monsters in your extra deck. So because the extra deck is very important. So I'm sure you guys are aware with many decks is basically the key purpose of Yu-Gi-Oh. So give me a moment, let me as I adjust my chair. And you already explained the fact you're aware as to how they work, so there isn't too much to explain. As I mentioned, summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. And I'll say that it is heavily broken. I won't deny that. But at the same time, it's like it just helps the deck compete. That's the whole purpose. You want your deck to be able to compete. It just seems too easy, but it's not like you could do it anytime you want. So, and you have to wait. You only use these effects during your turn. So if the thing is, if your opponent's playing cards that don't send to the grave, if they shuffle your synchro monsters to the deck or banish or whatever, gain control, yeah, then you will not be able to heavily utilize their effects. You won't be able to make full use of their abilities if they're not in your graveyard, and they can only be activated unless it's during your turn, during your main phase, as well as you have the right requirements. Because I do believe it is a cost to summon them, even though it seems easy to summon a very powerful Dark Synchro monster, and that a lot of these Synchro monsters, a lot of the Beelzebub monsters have that abilities. His deck, on the other hand, is very confusing. Like, and yeah, you could say the same. My deck doesn't fare as well as his, but like people are gonna find ways to make even more heavily broken decks where it's like I can't respond to anything. At least my deck allows the opponent to respond. Although I summon monsters that disrupt the opponent, negate card effects, but here if you could just play a card that says your opponent cannot do anything in response to this card's effect, which it looks like it, based on what I'm reading. So it looks like he's playing what's the Vitica deck, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So they're basically a water attribute deck, and basically their effects revolve around being unaffected or me not being able to respond with card effects. And this might sound confusing. Apparently, they also replace the status of my monsters, and they replace the effects, names, card effects, as well as attack and defense. So that, although that's very unique, it's very interesting because you don't really see those kind of card effects besides the unaffected. But it goes because it's the fact that he put a lot of thought into making the effects where they can actually change the wording of another card, which you don't see that often. So that can be something that Konami should start to like design to make the game more innovating. But he assumes that my Bastille is powered by the field spell only powers a Beelze monster. So he's thinking that his Vishnuda isn't affected by Dispatter, but it is. Since none of his text or his facts or his attack defense changed. We're just gonna proceed, so I don't want this to probably take too long. So he still searches for the trap. It's fine. So he's gonna activate the Vitica. So I assume he's gonna set that card. Fine by me, but I feel like no, honestly, just looking at his traps, they seem crazy powerful. Not only have a lot of card decks, I can't help but think that he can activate it from his graveyard. I can't help but think that way. That's fine, he's gonna negate it, cool. But I can negate his spot. But apparently he misplayed. I'm not sure what he did. That was because a lot of his cards, I can't read all of this though. Seriously, it just seemed too confusing. I'm just gonna focus on my cards. I'm not gonna focus too much on his cards because it's gonna make things more complicated. It's gonna get me even more confused. Because as long as I know how my cards work, it shouldn't be a problem. As you can tell, it's gonna be a pretty long duel. So he's gonna activate his Swampku, the Monk of the Vitica. I'm guessing So is it discarding all his? Oh, he can discard any number to draw cards equal to the number discarded. Okay. If I read the cards, I'm not gonna read all that entire text. You guys can read it, but not me. So let's fast forward. It's just gonna seem a little long. He's gonna. I assume because he controls a Vitica monster. Besides, but it says even if it isn't the same, even if it isn't a different monster, he can still summon with even if he has a same copy. Like to me, that seems pretty broken though. Because usually when you see a monster, if you control a specific type of monster, like usually how they would summon them is as long as they control one with a different name, just to balance out its effect. But because that means you're guaranteed to summon this card regardless. You're always guaranteed to summon this card, even if it's a card of the same name. Like, geez, if you're playing, so I'll get straight to my. If you're playing a duplicate card and they have like the same name as one other besides the archetype, that in itself was broken because it doesn't matter. You can summon it regardless, as long as it has the Vitica in its name. Even if just by having the two in hand is already good. It's always guaranteed that you're gonna summon this card. That's the issue that I'm trying to say. Is like if you have two of the same cards, you're always guaranteed to summon it. In a way, it kind of doesn't really how it doesn't really help make the effect seem less broken. If anything, just gives the card potential like abuse. What I mean, like potential abuse, you could put in much. People can try to figure out if they can loop this card and just, even though it may not be a hard, even if it may be hard once per turn, but if you match someone's card, it can guarantee you certain combos that can be very degenerate. So, and that's something I'm trying to bring up is like if cards like that, you can just immediately summon these, especially if they're duplicates. They can be problem for the game and make the game unstable. So apparently, yeah, because unfortunately I didn't read this card's entire effect, but the monsters that are linked by this card apparently can activate their effect. So I'm not sure if it says negated. Okay, their effects are negated. That's my bad. Okay, so I can't use these three's effect because this card's link monster this link monster's link arrow is pointing towards these three, so I can't use their effects. I assume Grovern's effect is negated too. Apparently I can't, so like I said, when there's too much card text, I can't go through all trouble without reading all these cards because it's gonna make the duel that much longer. But let's continue. So I'll use Nest's other effect. Contribute one monsters. Special summon Disbatter. Then use Disbatter's effect, as you can see right now. Gonna special summon Nightcrawler. Going to go for a Link Synchro 11. So now Beelzebub Arc Dragon. He's gonna chain to negate. It's fine. He's gonna go into another Vitica Yamada, which is 3k. He's gonna use effect, popping all three. And I was hoping to end this turn, but I can't. This duel is gonna be a lot longer. Sure. It resolves. I have no response. So I'm gonna view my graveyard. I'm just gonna attack it to his monster that's 25. I don't want to risk any misplace, so just in case if I activate something, he might just decide to nuke my whole field, but I just want to get rid of this card because it pretty much limits my monster's abilities, so I can actually get a chance to actually make the most out of their effects, which you see right now. So with this gone, I don't have to worry too much about my cards being interrupted. So I'll special summon the drone because I control uh, a Dark Insect Tuner. His other effect, when normal summoned, you can already tell a non-tuner monster, Beelze non-tuner. Gonna go into Synchro 8. Beelzebub's Approach. Draw 1, thanks to Beelzebub's Approach effect. Target Giant Centipede. Get to draw 2 cards. Use Agavron's effect. And I'm going to synchro summon for a Beelzebub level 12 synchro monster, as you can tell. No, so can use Crimson Beelze. Discard 1 card to draw 2. I mean, add 2 from my deck. Pretty much the same thing, to be honest. So can use Beelze effect. Oh, unfortunately, I won't be able to end my opponent's turn. So as you can see right now, same thing is gonna happen. Can use Archdragon's effect, but then he has a response. Apparently, I can't target this guy. Just target his Nitana Engrave. So that I'll be able to match that because I'm pretty sure it can revive itself. So he managed to summon this guy. And he's probably going to do the same thing. Tribute to add or whatever. I'm not going to read all these effects. Really just tiring, honestly. So just exhausting me all this card text. It's just going to bother me. Might as well just enjoy the duel. So it's going to activate this. It's fine. It's going to use Nitana's effect. It's normal summons activating the value to cut a field spell or continue spell chart from his deck. Which is Dynamic Current of the Vidica. He'll use Vidica's effect. Discard. He's going to use the field spell's effect. So I'm assuming he's going to change one of my monsters' names with one of my graveyards. That's fine by me, so you can do that. Now you can still his turn, obviously. Already it's a fast-paced duel, so I lose 2,000. I'll activate Needlebug's Nest. Okay. Special summon from my deck another Parasect Beelzebub tuner from my deck. And his response, he's going to negate the effect. Cool. And I have a feeling like he's just activating from his group. It's either one of his monsters that are doing that, or they just pretty much, or he enables it from his graveyard. They just have, he pretty much activated from his graveyard regardless, as long as he has no set spell traps. Now I'm carefully reading how his cards work. So it's the fact that he has no set spell trap cards, as well as he has only water, fiend, or fairy monsters. So that's the main reason. I just have been reading carefully, and I had a feeling as to why he's doing that. So that's fine. He's gonna chain. Cool. Go ahead. Already, it's almost half an hour, so it's gonna shuffle 3, I assume, to do something. Pop one of my cards, or no, make this mill 3. Go ahead. That's fine by me. It's not gonna hurt me too much. Cool. That's fine. I use Needlebug's Nest. Tributing one of my monsters, put summon Hard Beetle. I'm going to search with Bandus Paladin. And then finally I'm going to go into level 10 Synchro Monster. Then we use Behemoth Moss. Hopefully I'll be able to kill my opponent. But then I'm going to protect my monsters with Beelze's or Beelzebub's Trace. Gonna use some, then I'm gonna summon Vanguard Dragon, as you can see right now. That's fine. But either way, he probably replaced the effect. So Vanguard Dragon doesn't be able to use this effect because he's replacing this card's text as well as name, whatever. You already get the gist, so alright. But it's already slowing me down even further, so I'm just gonna keep going with my cards. So I'm gonna retrieve Beelze, Crimson Beelze, so I can search a non-tuner and a tuner monster, what happens to be a Parasite Beelzebub, which are and he already calls he already calls game that he admits defeat and that he'll be able to concede the duel, as you can read, because I'm just managing to push my opponent further as well as having Pandemic Dragon. I'm not too sure. I think I made a I don't know. I don't think I misplayed earlier. I think I misread one of my cards. I'm not sure if I actually did that correctly, but I think I used one of my other cards. I don't know. I can't trace back everything as to what's going on. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I feel like I accidentally cheated by mistake because this is a tuner monster. I think I accidentally summoned Igravern with Battle Drone, but just to correct myself. I don't know if I did, but I don't think I'm able to summon this guy. I could be able to summon these. I can be able to summon my other beasts of synchro monsters besides Agrovern. I kind of got mixed up because I forgot it was a tuner. But let me read carefully. Non-tuner, and this is a tuner. Yeah, no, I fucked up. There was no way I would have been summoning this guy either way. Even if I didn't summon him, I summoned something else. I don't know if it would have backfired. I don't know if I had any ways of like. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I could have gone for something else from my extra deck. Because that was definitely an illegal play, I'll admit that. I'm gonna have to check my extra deck, but yeah, no, I actually made a miss. I made I caused an irreparable game state. I made an illegal play, and I have to call myself out and admit that I was actually wrong for what I did. So even if I managed to summon something else, and I could have helped Matt, and then possibly turn the duel around with another opportunity with another strategy, but I should have been the one the forced to lose the duel. I should have been the one to concede the duel, but it seems like because it's already been passed what we just did, because I know for a fact that Agravun's not a non-tuner monster, unfortunately, but I just simply made a huge error, and I'm not going to change any card decks. It's just because I kind of lost track of the effect. I don't know, maybe my opponent changed Agravun's effect. Maybe I don't recall. Maybe he changed it and I managed to summon it and he didn't either he just didn't notice it. But besides that, I'm gonna have to check later. But again, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the whole duel. Hopefully you did. But besides all of that, what I just said, I want you guys to enjoy the video. Also, be sure to check my notifications and upcoming content later in the future. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.